Have you ever caught yourself saying, no worries? Well, I'm Steph.
And I'm Steph, and we have some worries. Hi, everyone. I'm Steph F.
And I'm Steph with a PH. And welcome to Some Worries, the podcast brought to you by two anxious bitches.
Welcome to our very first episode. Woo! We are very excited to welcome you to the first episode of Some Worries, a podcast all about mental health, body image, anxiety, books, fitness and self-care, therapy, feelings, and so much more.
We got it all.
We got it all. Everything is covered here. Hang out with us while we attempt to figure out how to lead a meaningful life without losing our fucking minds.
Yeah, that's the key part. The second half of that.
Yeah. Meaningful life, sure.
Sure.
But also not losing our minds, that's the important part.
That's important. That's why we're doing this. Well,
so
I am
who
Steph.
Are you, Steph with a PH?
Oh, it's so funny you ask. I am Steph with a PH. Hi. Hello, everybody. I am a marketing professional with work experience in higher ed, book publishing. Book publishing is how Steph and I met. We worked together for many years. But I am also very passionate about mental health. My work now in marketing is actually in the mental health space. So I'm learning lots of fun new things. That are really interesting. And so I'm really excited to be doing this podcast. I'm also a writer, and I'm currently working on a novel. And Steph is always harassing me about my novel. I promise it's almost done. She's shaking her fist at me if you're listening on audio.
She's got 2 scenes left to draft. And after that, I'm going to hack into her computer.
I'm just going to hack into it and read it's extremely too long, but it's fine. That's what editing's for. But yeah, so I'm a marketing professional, a writer, co-host of this podcast now, Some Worries.
Hey.
Steph, who are you? Tell me who you are.
I'm Steph with an F. I am also a marketing professional and I work in publishing. And I don't work in mental health like Steph, but I have mental health issues.
Don't
we all? Count?
It counts. It totally
counts.
Mental
health is really, really important to me. I did not realize that I had anxiety for a really long time. And so it's important to me to talk about it in public. And so now we're doing it even more publicly.
Yeah, super public.
I am a gym goer. I like to lift heavy weights. I am a dog mom. I am a nature lover. And now, like Steph, I am also a co-host of this podcast.
Yay!
So why did we decide to do a podcast?
I love that you're asking me this question. We'll touch on this, but between the two of us, I'm the one probably least likely to do something like this publicly. Yeah. But here we are. We're here. We're here together. That's what's important.
We're holding hands from like 1,500 miles away.
That's right. But yeah, we decided to do this podcast in part because Steph and I were already sending each other like 10-minute long voice messages pretty frequently, like sometimes multiple times a day. That's our friendship. That's just how we are. We're always kind of sending each other messages about what's going on in our lives, what we're up to. Sometimes just we're thinking about things and we want to bounce ideas. And then we said to ourselves, why don't we just like do a podcast? Because we're already doing it. What if we just
already doing a podcast?
Yes. What if we just shared this with others who maybe could benefit from, some of the experiences that we have, some of the things we're going through, what we're learning as we're kind of going through life. So we thought, hey, let's do it. And kind of inherent in this too, I think, is that it's important for us, I think, to both sort of connect some of these topics and help other people and really destigmatize the mental health conversation. I mean, even though I work in marketing in terms of mental health, I am by no means like a licensed therapist. I am not a psychologist. I am not a psychiatrist. I do not have formal training in mental health. And for a while, I've always felt like, oh, well, that means I'm not really qualified to talk about some of these topics. But then, the more you think about it, you realize, you know what? If more people just came together like, hey, I'm having this struggle right now. I'm feeling anxious or I'm feeling depressed or, I'm not sure what this feeling is that I have. I just feel like I want to talk to somebody about it. If we were all more open with each other about these different feelings that we're having, we could all support each other more. And so
Mhm.
I think our hope with this podcast is that we can kind of be that voice in other people's lives saying like, yeah, it's totally normal to talk about your mental health, especially in the context of the world that we live in, because things happen and sometimes you just need to talk about it.
Mhm.
And we also want to have fun. I mean, this is fun, right?
It is very fun. It's basically like us just hanging out with each other
Yeah,
while we just
exactly.
happen to be recording our conversations.
Hmm.
So I'm
Yeah,
excited about it.
I know, me too. It's just we basically like have friend dates every week where we just get together and record what we're talking about, which is super fun.
Yes. So, as we mentioned, all of our topics will in some way be tied into mental health and our personal experiences as self proclaimed anxious bitches. So, we thought we would tell you a little bit about our personal journeys, just so that you can kind of see what we've been through and maybe relate to us or tell us about your own journeys. So, I have anxiety, I also have depression. Um, I grew up I'm pretty sure I had anxiety, like, since I was a kid, but
Mm,
didn't have the words to describe it. I remember, like, having essentially full-on fucking panic attacks over, projects in school,
mm.
over overthinking. I overthink. That is, like, my main anxiety symptom
Mm.
is I overthink, so I would be overthinking a project, um, down to, like, the fucking font that I was using, just, like, stupid things, but that's how anxiety is, and I just didn't realize that's what I had, until I was probably late in high school, early in college, when mental health started to become more of a focus in fiction books.
Mm.
And I started reading fiction books with about characters who had anxiety and who were overthinking and were having the same symptoms and side effects that I was, which led me into researching online. Of course, Google is our best friend.
Dr.
And
Google.
I love Google and realizing, the tightness in my chest and the inability to breathe and
Mm.
the feeling that like I was literally dying even though I wasn't,
Mm-hmm.
were all panic attacks. And so I started to kind of deal with that. And then I would say after college is when I started to deal with depression and anxiety, but depression more so for me, really come and go.
Mm.
Anxiety is kind of like my constant companion, but depression is it'll be there and it'll be really fucking difficult, and I'll really be suffering, and then I'll work through it. I'll work through whatever situation it is, and it's just it'll kind of take a back seat for a while, and then it'll be fine, and I'll be like, I don't have depression, but I do, and then it will come back. So it's kind of like like I said, here and there. I would
Mm.
say my toughest time with that was around 2015 to 2016. It was really difficult. I was in a job that I wasn't happy with and was looking for a new one. Was still living at home, and it was really hard. And it uh, got dark for a while. But then it's kind of gone since then. I've had like some. I mean, we went through a pandemic. We're still in a pandemic, which
Mhm.
definitely fully affected my mental health. And I had some tough times. I think like I don't know if it was winter that was making it even worse,
Mm.
pandemic, but like February 2021, fuck that month. That month could
We're
be written
coming
out
for
of
you,
my memory.
February.
It was not good.
Oh man.
Um, but it's been okay, and therapy has really helped. I have been in therapy for a couple of years now. I really love my therapist. And also, we'll talk about this at some point, but also medication,
Mm.
which is not a cop out. If you need
No.
medication, you need medication, and it really
Yeah.
does help.
Yeah.
So, that was a long, long talk.
No, it was
So, what
great.
about you, Steph? What's your mental health journey been like?
Yeah. So I think very similar to what you said about looking back, you're like, oh yeah, I'm pretty sure I had anxiety as a kid. Yeah, same. I realized this about myself. I feel like really late in life. Like I was carrying it for a really long time, not understanding what it was, dealing with it the best ways I could. It wasn't actually until, as weird as this sounds, in addition to anxiety, I have like a chronic digestive disorder. And it's one of those things I was laughing when you were saying about your depression that like you'll be depressed for a while and then it'll go away and you're like, well, I don't have depression. And then it comes back like, hey, bitch. And you're like, oh, yeah, right. Okay. Um, Also having like a chronic digestive illness can feel like that, where you go through stretches of time where you're like, you're kind of okay. And you're like, well, maybe I'm fine. Maybe I don't have that illness. And then it's like, no, bitch, hey. And you're like, damn. So I was going through kind of a really hard bout of it where I just was really sick. So I was working with my gastroenterologist, and one of the things they recommended was that I see their GI psychiatrist or psychologist. And so this is a person who specializes in helping people who have GI conditions, because as some of you listening may know, the all of the neurons and things in your gut are directly connected to the stuff happening in your brain. There's something called a brain gut connection that exists and is, anything that happens in one affects the other. So I started seeing this GI psychologist, and we're working through some things, and I'm practicing like different types of breathing exercises, learning relaxation techniques. She's teaching me like how to do hypnosis stuff. We were doing like hypnosis sessions. And as I'm going through this process with her, we also were talking. And I had never seen a therapist before. I had never really had access to that level of mental health care. The community I grew up in kind of doesn't believe in mental health being a thing. It's just sort of like, if you're feeling weird or something, like just deal with it. There's not a lot of, oh, that's a mental health condition, you could seek care for that and you can feel better. That really wasn't existent when I was growing up in the community where I grew up. So, this is my first time seeing somebody professionally in this capacity. And as we're talking, I'm like slowly beginning to realize, oh, I have anxiety. And really that psychologist was wonderful and kind of helping me walk to that realization of like, oh, some of the stuff I'm experiencing physically might also be related to things happening mentally. Like these things are connected. So I finished my sessions with her. It's the kind of thing where you don't see a GI psychologist for an extended period of time. They're really like short term appointments, like for a few weeks. But after kind of working with her, I realized I should get a therapist. And so I did. And once I started doing that, it really opened up this whole new world to me of understanding, like, oh yeah, that thing that I've been carrying my whole life, like this feeling, sort of like the feeling of just there's something wrong all the time. Like you're always just waiting for something bad to happen. Some other things that I was experiencing, intrusive thoughts, all of these sorts of things that were giving me a lot of struggle. I realized, oh my God, it's just anxiety. Not just, I mean, that makes it sound reductive. Anxiety is a bitch, but it helped me kind of understand this whole trajectory of my life, like in a new way. And so since then, I've been working really closely with my therapist, who is wonderful, to kind of work through a lot of these things. And I have new coping tools that I can kind of use to help manage the anxiety. I realized for the first time, like some of the things I was experiencing were panic attacks. I had an idea in my head of what I thought a panic attack was. And then in working with my therapist, I realized, oh, there's lots of different ways that they manifest. And
Yep.
I remember very clearly, this was when I was in college, I think. I was really, involved in music. I was an oboist, and I was like in the pit orchestra for this theater company. And I remember riding back with some other musicians in the car, and just feeling like I couldn't breathe. And I didn't know why, but I like couldn't catch my breath. And they ended up like calling the ambulance because I just like couldn't breathe, and I like couldn't communicate. I was just like kind of like gasping air. And it's one of those things where I think back on it now and I'm like, oh, that was a panic attack. But like at the time I was just like, I don't know what's wrong with me. It just happened. And I felt so embarrassed. It's something I didn't talk about for a really long time after it happened because I didn't want people to know that I had like freaked out or something. And now I'm like, oh no, that was a panic attack. Like it happens. So yeah, I think my journey is very similar to yours in the kind of discovering along the way, like, oh, okay, yep, that's anxiety. And then kind of learning how to work through it.
Yeah, I wish that more people talked about it to kids, which
Yes.
is why I'm like so happy that publishing has kind of been moving in that direction of having
Hmm.
more books, including like middle grade books that talk about mental health. Because
Yeah.
if I would have read some of those books when I was younger, I would have been like, oh, that's what I have. And I could have gotten
Hmm.
help for it a lot sooner.
Yes. Yeah. Because I think it's part of the reason we're doing this podcast is sort of the stigma around mental health. And when things are stigmatized, they're not talked about. And so for a lot of people, a lot of children, especially depending on where they're growing up, depending on the region they grow up in, the
Mhm.
families they grow up in, the cultures they grow up in, there may not be access to that information in any other place. But yeah, books are just a wonderful medium to help kids understand like they're not alone. This is something that's happening to them. So I totally agree. I think it's wonderful that there's more of that out there.
Yeah, agree. So we thought a good way for you to get to know us a little bit better is if we interviewed each other. And I thought the easiest question to kind of start with would be, are you an introvert or an extrovert?
Mm, good question. I you know the answer, of course, Steph, but
I
for
do.
those listening, I'm pretty introverted. Not gonna
That's why I'm
lie.
so proud of you for this.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, this is me stepping very outside of my comfort zone. But you know, I just have always sort of been I've always really liked my own company. And have always been the kind of person that I'm very friendly. I will go hang out with friends and do things, but then I need time to chill after. And before to get myself primed. So I really just value having that time to myself. And Steph, you're a little different than me in this regard, yeah?
Well, yes and no. I
Yeah.
would say I'm like 51% extroverted and
Mm,
49% introverted. Like
mm,
I'm very down the middle.
yeah.
I really like going to concerts and plays and seeing people, but then afterward I'm like, don't fucking talk to me. So I like that, but
Hmm.
I definitely recharge at home by myself.
Hmm.
And similar to you, like I've always liked just being at home and reading or, painting or watching TV and just being alone.
Hmm.
The older I get, yeah, as I got older, like specifically in college, I started to break out of my shell a little bit more. And then as more and more years pass, like I do like going out and doing those things and having those experiences, but then I definitely need that time by myself. So I'm like a like extroverted introvert, I think is what they
Mm,
call it. So
nice.
I'm pretty down the middle.
Yeah. Yeah. It's so funny. I'm definitely not down the middle, as you know. I'm like probably
No,
maybe like
you're
a
like 75%
yeah, or
introverted.
I was gonna give myself like a 30,
Okay.
70, maybe.
70/30.
Yeah,
Okay.
I feel like that maybe. But yeah, I mean I really love just hanging out and writing all by myself.
Yeah.
Hanging out with my cats. Like that's my jam. So
Yeah. Fair enough.
now I have a question for you, Steph.
Okay.
Okay, so if you were going to maybe host a dinner party and you had the option to invite any three guests that you want, living or dead, who would you invite?
That is a good question. Hmm.
Hmm.
Okay, so the first three people that come to mind are Freddie Mercury. My dog is named Freddie after Freddie Mercury, so I feel like that's an obvious one.
Mm-hmm.
Um, David Bowie because he was amazing,
Mm-hmm.
and I feel like he would give me like really good advice of just like not giving a shit.
Yeah.
He was living his own life.
Mm-hmm.
And then so since I'm obviously on a music theme, I'll go with someone who's still alive, which is Donald Glover, aka Childish Gambino, who I
Yes.
just think is fucking incredible as a rapper, as an actor, and he's just so smart. So I feel like the three of them, that would be a really good dinner party.
That would be a great dinner party. I'm imagining some of the conversations that they would have.
Yeah.
And oh, that would be so incredible. I kind
Yeah.
of, can I come to this dinner party? I want to
You
be
can
invited.
come.
Okay,
Yeah, it'll be a somewheres dinner
perfect.
party. So who are yours? Maybe we'll have
Okay,
like one big dinner
we'll
party.
combine. We'll combine.
Yeah.
Okay, so my three. So I think maybe my first one, this is a person who I have adored since I first saw Star Wars at the tender age of, I don't know, maybe 10,
Yeah.
11. Carrie Fisher.
Hell yeah. She's coming to the
Yes.
dinner party.
She has to come.
Yeah.
I just always thought she was amazing. I first saw Star Wars when I was very young and was just very into Star Wars for a very long time. I mean, I still enjoy it obviously, but and I just thought she was so cool. Like she was just the first real example of a princess who could like kick ass. And
Hmm.
I don't know, and she was just like so great. And then also as I got older and learned more about Carrie Fisher, learned more about her and her mental health journey and all of
Hmm.
the like badass shit she was just doing in the world, I was like, yeah, she's
Yeah.
cool. So
And talking about people who like just don't give a shit what other people think.
yes, I
Yeah.
just love that about her. So
Nice. That's a good choice.
yeah, we'll have her come. My other ones, probably not surprising, are going to be probably authors because
Obviously, I'm really surprised the first one wasn't an author.
I'm trying to be, open to different types of fields of interest here, but
Hmm.
I read a lot, obviously, and I write a lot, and authors are my people. One author I'd love to meet is N.K. Jemisin, who wrote Fifth Season. She wrote tons of other books, 100,000 Kingdoms. Her most recent is, oh my God, I'm blanking on the title. The City We Became. That series. So she just has so many great books. I've literally read everything out by her. I'm
Yeah.
obsessed. My only worry is I'm like, it's really hard when you invite people that are like your idols because I'm like, oh my God, if she doesn't like me, I will be devastated. Like I want it to be a good time. So I want her to come and I want her to have a great time at our dinner party.
She will.
Good.
Hopefully.
Good,
Yeah.
good. And then my third one, I think it's going to be Alex Harrow, who is another author who I just really love.
Hmm.
I think partly because she's from Kentucky, and I just feel like we'd vibe. I don't know. I think that based on what again, she's somebody I've read all of her books that are out, and I just feel like we'd see the world in really similar ways, and I just think she's so cool, and I stalk her on social media, so
I'm
um,
very excited about our dinner party. It's
it's
going
gonna
to
be
be a good
great.
one.
It's gonna be a
Yeah.
good mix.
All right. I have another question for you, and it
Okay.
may include this dinner party now, I guess, but
Okay. Okay.
what would the perfect day be like for you?
Oh.
If you could plan the perfect day, what would that day entail?
Mm. I almost want to answer this as like April 26th because it's not too hot and it's not too cold, but that's not going to be my answer. Um,
It should be,
it
but
should be. Um,
it could be April 26th and all of these things
and
happening.
all of these things happen. Yeah. So,
Yeah.
not too hot, not too cold. Though also where I live in the Midwest, it's still really fucking cold in April. So maybe I should
That's
change that to
true.
like May. I don't know. Maybe end of May is possibly getting warm.
Hmm.
Um, but yeah, I think for me, perfect day would be sleeping in as much as I want and waking up refreshed.
Yes.
That's important. I'd want to have my morning cup of tea, which is what I do every day. And I love that moment. Ideally, maybe I would be having it somewhere scenic. Like if I'm at home, I can have it on my back deck. But maybe in this scenario, I'm hanging out somewhere really cool. Like maybe I'm on, I don't know, the East Coast somewhere and I'm like overlooking the Atlantic, or maybe I'm in the Mediterranean overlooking some other body of water. Like, really bodies of water are wonderful to look at while you're drinking tea. So that, and I'd want the day to just be spent doing the things I love to do, reading books, writing them, maybe have a really nice dinner, maybe our dinner party.
Mm-hmm.
with friends and with our, new friends, because obviously we will charm all of these people we've invited and they will be our friends forever,
Obviously.
obviously. And then I want to maybe just end the day with a nice sit. Like sitting by the bonfire, and just chatting until the late hours when you're like, oh, I'm tired. I think I'm going to go to bed. But you just feel like you've had this full day. So that would be my perfect day.
That sounds nice.
Yeah.
I'm gonna steal, you said April 26th. I'm gonna go Mean Girls and say October 3rd. Mine would be in Scotland. Edinburgh
Ooh.
is like where my heart lives, as like cheesy and cliche as that is. Like that is the home of my heart.
Mm-hmm.
So it would be, it probably wouldn't be October because this would be really cold, but wake up, go hike Arthur's Seat in the morning. So it would definitely need to be summer so that the wind burn doesn't burn my face off from
Yeah, that's
cold.
plus. Yeah, you want to keep your
Um,
face intact.
yes. Hike Arthur's Seat, probably like have breakfast at the top and just look over Edinburgh, which is just so gorgeous. And then probably, not gonna lie, probably go and lay down for a little while after
Yeah.
that. Maybe read. And then I would want to like go to a bookstore. There's some really great bookstores there. There's one called Through the Looking Glass, which I really like. Or even just going to like Waterstones, which I love Waterstones too. Buying a book and then going and laying in Prince's Street Gardens and reading for a while, and then going on to the Royal Mile and getting some good ass fish and chips that's like served in the newspaper with like
Mm,
vinegar, like the real legit
nice.
fish and chips.
Uh-huh.
Um, and then dessert somewhere probably. But my perfect day would 1,000% be in Edinburgh.
Nice. Well, that's where we'll host the dinner party. And that actually
Great.
works for me because Scotland has tons of coastline. So I can start my day somewhere on the coast and,
Yeah.
work my way to the dinner party.
Yeah, you can go, you can start in Glasgow and
Yeah,
then come over to Edinburgh.
it's
And
perfect.
also, Scotland, Edinburgh is a UNESCO City of Literature because
Oh.
the literary scene there is like so famous. And we can go to Princess Street Gardens and you can see the Scott Monument, which is the
Ooh.
monument for Sir Walter Scott. And
Ooh.
there's a writers museum in Edinburgh. So,
Oh,
yeah.
okay.
So we'll do all that.
Let's do all that. That
And
sounds
then we
great.
can take like, I think there's a Robert Louis Stevenson tour of Edinburgh where they show you like,
Oh.
Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde and like all of his different places. So yeah, we'll do that.
Ooh. Okay, that sounds great. A literary tour of Edinburgh. I'm on
Yes,
board.
great. That'll be our summaries retreat,
Yeah.
in a few months when we're like really famous from this
Yeah.
podcast.
Yeah, we'll do a podcast out there. We'll record on
Exactly. We'll
location.
do a live recording.
Yeah, that'd be great. Now that we've said this, we need to do it because I'm going to be really sad if we don't.
Oh, my plan is to go back to Scotland next year. So if you want
Oh,
to come,
okay. I mean, I haven't been anywhere in literal years because of the pandemic. So provided
yeah,
there's not another plague sweeping the world, I'm
yeah,
on
as long
board.
as polio doesn't take us all out.
Yeah, there's too many. There's too many plagues. We need at least two fewer, at least.
At least, preferably all fewer.
Preferably just no more, but if we could just maybe focus on one at a time, that would be
Yeah.
great.
Hmm.
By the time this comes out, maybe there'll be a new one too that we don't even know about. We are recording
Oh,
this
Steph,
now over
knock
the
on
summer.
wood, Jesus Christ.
Oh God. Well, we're just gonna hope that actually by then things are better and people won't even know what we're talking about anymore. They're like, "What
Exactly.
plagues?" Yeah. So, uh, another question for you:
Okay.
what motivates you?
Oh, we're getting deep here.
Getting deep.
I mean, honestly, I've always like just been internally motivated.
Hmm.
Just very motivated by myself, and that's been true my entire life. I compare myself to myself and I'm just like, here's what I did last time. Can I do any better than that?
Mm-hmm.
Um, how can I be the best version of myself? And I just work really hard and have always just been like driven by my internal, probably from my internal overthinking, if I'm really
Mm-hmm.
honest. It's
Yeah.
just like,
Yeah.
what, you're just gonna do that? No, you have to do this and this. Oh, you only lifted 100 pounds, bitch, you better do 115 next time. Like, it's
Yeah.
just it's just overthinking in
Yep.
my head.
Yep.
How about you?
I mean, very similar. I'm not the kind of person that, like, some people are really motivated by, other people kind of holding them accountable for things. I'm also very intrinsically motivated. I don't really need a lot of external help staying motivated, working towards my goals. For me, I think as weird as it sounds, I kind of feel like my motivation is anxiety, which is
No,
getting at what
honestly,
you're
I mean, that's
saying.
basically what I just said.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. I think there is always a drive in me, and call it whatever you want, but I can't just not. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's really hard for me to not just be working towards my goals and to not be moving forward. And I feel really bad when I'm not. So, I just am very, very driven in that way. And I also try to be very mindful of not running myself into the ground, and trying to take time to rest. That is always my struggle. That is my
Same.
journey.
Yep. Hmm.
I know it's your journey too, because I'm always being like, Steph, you could just take it easy today. You don't have to do those 12 things on your to-do list. Maybe you just hang out.
I do.
Hmm. But I say it because I'm the same way. It's the same thing I'm telling my brain 24/7, which is
Yeah.
it's okay to rest. It's okay to take it easy. It's important to rest because you can't just go full throttle 24/7. You do need to make time for rest, and rest is important. So
Yeah.
I try to
Speaking of
balance.
mental health journeys,
Yeah.
mine is that's my biggest struggle of
Yeah.
like where I'm at now is
Yeah.
like, don't burn out. Cause
Hmm.
you're right. Like, it's really hard to just like, at least like, it's really hard for me to just like sit down and watch TV.
Hmm.
Like, even
Yeah.
yesterday, I was watching something on TV and I'm still having to like paint. And then I'm teaching myself how to do something on Procreate. It's like,
Yeah.
just fucking sit down and relax. But
Yep.
no, I'm always like, go, 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 doing something else. You're the
Yep.
same way.
Yeah. Same. I mean, it's
Just
impossible to sit
bitches.
down and just do one thing.
Yep.
Yeah, we are anxious bitches.
Yes. All right. I have one more question for you, which
Okay.
could be easy or could be hard.
Okay. I'm gonna brace
If you had to
myself.
describe yourself in only 3 words, which words would you choose?
Only three.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, ridiculously anxious bitch. That's my joke answer.
Yep. Uh huh.
Which is also appropriate.
Yep.
I would say creative,
Yes.
and I mean that in multiple ways, like creative in the abstract, but creative in, like, in action as well, because I
Yeah.
do generate a lot of writing material pretty regularly, and that's what I do. Um, I would say organized,
Yeah.
organized, I would say. Um, just because, like, I've never met a planner that I haven't loved
Hmm.
and used. So I'm always kind of like trying to organize things. Um, and I would say hermetic. And that
Uh huh.
my
Yep.
my
Yep.
greatest aspiration is just to have a really nice uh cottage by the sea where nobody bothers me, and I write my books, and I drink my tea, and I hang out with my cats, and I guess also my husband, he can come too. But I just want to
I
live
guess.
that life. Yeah, I guess. Just
That
kidding.
sounds lovely.
Yeah.
That sounds
Yeah.
like a good life.
Mm-hmm.
I would say my 3 words, I mean, number one is passionate.
Mm.
I'm just a very passionate person about everything I care about. I'm gonna steal yours actually and say
Oh.
creative
Mm-hmm.
because same.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I am always having to do something creative. I don't write like you. But I I like to paint. I like to DIY. I like to draw. I like to always be learning some new creative thing. And then I would say driven probably
Mm,
is my
mhm,
third word. Driven, hardworking, one of those.
mhm.
Overworking probably is
Perhaps,
more correct.
perhaps that word.
Um, but yes, like we were just talking about, I'm always pushing myself further and further. So
Yeah, that makes
um
sense.
yeah. So if you're tuning in, tell us what your three words are in the
Hmm.
comments or on our social media pages. And thanks so much for tuning into our very first episode. We're
Yay!
so
We did
excited
it.
to be doing this together. We hope that you enjoy us, enjoy listening to us, I suppose. You can follow us on Instagram and TikTok at Some Worries Pod. And if you enjoyed today's episode and you are looking forward to more, please like and subscribe to the podcast.
Yes, and you can join us every other Wednesday where we're going to be getting together to chat about our feelings, about anxiety, body image. We're going to talk about it all.
All the things, all the feelings.
Yes.
Until next Wednesday, we have been Steph.
And Steph. And now we need to go record the rest of our season. So,
Oh, God. Bye.
yeah, bye.